Hi, my name is Rebecca Rubens. I'm a PhD student from Delft University, and I'm researching why designers don't design sustainably, especially in the context of craft based small and medium and micro enterprises in the developing world. Um, so, when I studied why don't designers design sustainability in a holistic manner, I came up with 7 barriers. The first barrier was lack of knowledge about sustainability. The second was lack of a holistic overview of the production to consumption system. The third was a failure to include sustainability at a strategic level in the overall approach. The fourth was failure to include sustainability criteria in the design brief. The fifth was lack of a collaborative design process. The sixth was lack of tools to measure holistic sustainability against indicators. And the last and the seventh was a failure to keep the design team in the loop during the final product actualization. So I'm going to go again to each step because I developed a 7-step approach that corresponds with the 7 barriers. And I'm going to tell you about how I addressed each step and how I propose to help designers and enable and empower designers, equip them to design more sustainability. So, going to the first one, lack of knowledge about sustainability. Um, the literature review suggested that designers don't really know much about sustainability because they don't learn about sustainability through their mainstream education, and neither do they learn about it much through their practice in most cases. So, how do you inform designers about sustainability? Because that was the goal. So I suggest that the first step of the rhizome approach should focus on informing designers about sustainability through didactic learning. So didactic learning is traditional learning methods, background reading material, PowerPoint presentations. So this is where the students are given inputs about sustainability and they receive inputs on sustainability. So that was the first step. The second step is based on a barrier which says that um, designers don't have a holistic overview of the production to consumption system. So what does this mean? This means that from production to consumption, there are different nodes of the value chain. So you have raw materials, you have production, you have distribution, packaging, transportation, and use, for example. So, designers would tend to focus upon a manufacture or use aspect of it, but they really wouldn't know what is happening with the producers, especially if the producers are craft based SMEs in the developing world, which are located far away from them, or even not in the city where their design studios are. So I suggest that rather than giving them a lot of documents which say that this is the profile of your producers, or these are the social factors or cultural factors, I suggest that now that they have a background on sustainability from step one, they have knowledge about sustainability, some basic concepts, let them go and visit the nodes of the value chain and have experiential learning on this production to consumption system, and internalize through experiential learning firsthand what is happening in the value chain and how they want to impact it. The third step is failure to include sustainability at a strategic level in the overall approach. So, the rhizome approach suggests internalization of sustainability at a strategic level through discussions and experiential learning. So, to put the company or the organization and the designer on the same page, I suggest sharing and explaining sustainability goals through roadmaps. Let them have an overall picture, and everybody works towards those goals. So to internalize it, you could have concept mapping exercises. So say if I produce a Bisleri bottle in plastic, what will be the social impacts? What will be the cultural impacts? So sustainability is a very strategic kind of an aspect that they include in the overall design process with the company. The fourth step is failure to include sustainability criteria in the design brief. So, like I talked about before, most designers have a focus on manufacture or use, And this is what the criteria looks at: production and marketing. But I mean, rarely do we get design briefs which say that make it more culturally relevant or make it more socially impactful, unless it's really specific, like it's a CSR project or something like that. So what I'm suggesting is, let's include sustainability. In the last step we did it in the organizational mandate. Let's look at it in the design brief and put it there with the traditional criteria. And for this I suggest a clear brief. So a clear brief would be: design a commercially viable product, commercially viable because it has to sell, using local production capacities. So this means that local producers get work, that leverage indigenous knowledge systems. So that means that it's based on cultural systems. So this is like a clear design brief around sustainability in the context of craft SMEs in the developing world. Also, I've developed a holistic sustainability checklist which says it has 45 points. So you can give this checklist to designers and they can go through it. Like, it has really simple points: use renewable material, use low energy process material, reduce production weight or reduce manufacture processes, um, look at distribution constraints, make it flat pack modular, so that you consume less energy for transportation and things like this. So this sustainability checklist makes each point of the sustainability criteria in the brief really clear. So the fifth is lack of a collaborative design process. And why is a collaborative design process necessary? Because designs are not actually made only by the designer. They're also made by a lot of other people, like the production team makes changes, the marketing team makes changes, the client itself has some suggestions, maybe your friends have suggestions, a sample user might have suggestions, someone who's producing it, your craftsperson might have suggestions. So why not formalize this input session process through a collection of formalized inputs? So the fifth step says that let's have a collaboration and let's have a collaborative design process, and let's formalize and strengthen this collaboration through ice-breaking team building exercises and constant feedback from experts and stakeholders in the value chain. The sixth is that the sixth barrier is lack of tools to measure holistic sustainability against indicators. So you've done all of the steps before, you've designed something, but you don't know whether your design is really sustainable. I mean, you think so, but do you know so? So to help you actually quantify the sustainability you have managed to imbibe in your design, you measure the product you've designed against the sustainability checklist which you used in your design brief stage. So not only do you evaluate your product against those points, but so do two external evaluators, and we total up the three scores and average them out, and we realize your score per point. So you might realize that you have looked at a lot of ecological issues and your product scores really high on ecological issues, but you could include cultural issues to make it more well-rounded. So you can actually iterate based on the scores and improve your design based on the findings of the checklist. Okay, so the last and final step, and based on the barriers, failure to keep the design team in the loop until the final product actualization. So what this means is that, once designers are done with their products, what happens is production takes over and they make changes, and then marketing takes over and they make changes. And sometimes by the time a product hits the shop floor, you can't even recognize it because it's changed so hugely. So for example, you might have made a decision like replacing glue with pegs, but production thought that it is too costly. So they changed it back to glue, and marketing thought this was a good idea because dropping the price meant they can enlarge their base of consumers. So they might have also gone with it. But your sustainability consideration that you thought of is gone. So that's why the Rhizome approach's seventh and final step proposes keeping designers in the loop through email and involving them in all changes up to final prototype resolution. So if the designer can physically be there, great, but otherwise designers should at least through email be communicated with on the changes, and they should okay those changes. So they should be the holders and responsible of the final thing that goes onto the shop floor, the final version of the design. So we trialed the Rhizome approach in a workshop in India, and it was quite effective. But what I want to know is that what do other designers than the ones I worked with actually think about this approach? Do you think it would work? Do you think some step is better than the other? Do you have some suggestions on adding on to some steps? So I've sent you a really simple questionnaire, which is mostly yes or no or rating answers. And if you want to give some suggestions, I would be very grateful. So if you could just look at my questionnaire and let me know what you think of this approach, and send it across to me, it would really help me with my PhD approach. So look forward to hearing from you and look forward to getting your feedback through the questionnaires. Thank you.